slow in this nation. Awakening.
My name's Rocky Bennett. This is my story.
Spirit we desire.
I've had a pretty tough life. When I was 13, I started with drugs and alcohol, always looking for the freedom that I thought everybody else had. You know, I just wanted to be normal, or what I thought was normal. And what it turned out to be is it was nothing more than a lie. And it led from just marijuana and alcohol to anything I could find that would just numb the pain or would take what I was feeling away. And that never seemed to be enough. Before you know it, you're telling lies. You're telling one lie to cover another lie to cover another lie. And you lose track of who you are, and you never know who you were to begin with. And who you were is gone. And you lose track of all of that. I remember March 8th of 2010 very well. It was a very, very rough day. I remember walking into a courtroom and I had an attorney tell me, you know, we're going to get you probation for this and it's going to be okay. And when that judge looked at me and he said, Mr. Bennett, I sentence you to 22 months in a state correctional facility. That was when the whole bottom of my world dropped out. Rock bottom to me wasn't just laying flat on my back, but it was landing on my knees, begging God to take, you know, this curse that I put on my life, to take this addiction and deal with it. Going into prison was a very dark time in my life. And I remember my very first day being at my parent institution. When I walked in there, they warn you about gangs, and they warn you about drugs, and they warn you about all the violence and all the nasty, ugly things that you see on TV. And you don't really think too much about it. And then they send you off to your dorm, and they pretty much say, okay, go on your way and learn how to survive. That day, when we went to lunch, there was a young man that came up, and he tapped me on my shoulder, and he said, I've got a message for you. And when that man looked at me straight in my face, and I'm standing there thinking, you know what? This is going to be about gangs or drugs or violence or, you know, any other number of things that it could have been. And this man looked at me and he said, God told me to tell you, this is your mission field.
Like the rising sun that shines.
And that's how I walked out my time. And I followed God's will, and I studied. And we started men's study group, and I got myself involved at the chapel in the institution, and I mentored people and I discipled people, and it was just an amazing, amazing time for me, because they say, you know, you're in prison and you're locked up and you have no freedom, but the freedom that I finally found behind bars was a freedom that you can't find anyplace else. In Christ, you find who God created you to be. You'll find that if you really step outside yourself and you give your will to God and you say, you know what, I can't do this anymore on my own, God will direct your path in a way that is undeniable. In my heart, I truly believe that this is the path that God took my life. I got to see miracles happen in men's lives as they gave their life to Christ. And it was truly, truly amazing. But what I really didn't see, what I really didn't experience, was that miracle that was taking place inside me, that freedom that I was able to find. My first weekend home from prison, I had everyone tell me in prison that you're never going to amount to anything because you're going to carry this label for the rest of your life. Nobody's going to look at you, and nobody's going to, you're not going to be able to find a job. You're not going to be able to find a house. You're never going to be able to find a wife. And you're going to struggle the rest of your life. In that, you know, I laughed at that because I knew who my father was. And I remember walking into this church. my first Sunday home. And the people that walked up and threw their arms around me and said, "Welcome home. We missed you." That was amazing. That's the true power of the love of this church. To find that new man that I've become came at a heavy price. It came at just an amazing cost. But what I have now, I wouldn't give up, because what I have now is something that is just truly, truly powerful. My name is Rocky Bennett. This is my story.